Hey there guys, this is That Hero Kid. Today we're going to be doing a Magic World deck profile for Future Card Buddy Fight. It's going to be a control based deck. There's going to be a lot of proxies in it because obviously BTO2 has just dropped if you're watching this like the day this is put out. But if not, then ignore the fact that it's dropped a while ago. So to start off, our flag is going to be Magic World, of course, because Magic World, yay. And our buddy is going to be Herb Magician Sochiro Tenjiku, this fine person right here. So his ability is Concentrate. The cast cost of each of your Magic World spells is reduced by 1 gauge. So all of the control spells that we're going to be playing are going to be reduced by 1, which is really helpful, and the fact that he's our buddy is going to make it just a plus to get him on. So we'll start off with 3 copies of Kenji of the Explosive Fist. Now, there's probably a better card that I can play in the spot right now, but I am playing Great Spell, My Grandfather Clock. Thus, I need as many spellcasters as I can without messing up the flow of the deck. The next 3 cards are going to be Magician of Glass, Will Glassart. His effect is Glass Miracle. When this card does damage your opponent, you may pay a gauge, and if you do, draw a card. He is a 2k, 10k for 2 damage. Thus, he forces any guard spells if your opponent doesn't want you to draw, and if not, you can just hit me and you draw. Next up is 3 copies of Magic Knight of Light Liched. He has a power and defense bonus if his buddy Dunkelhit is out. It's plus 3,000, and he is a 3k 1 4k. Another size 1, that way you can load your board and get off kosher. And here's his buddy, Magic Knight of Darkness, Dunkelhit. Again, plus 3,000 power and defense. If Lich is on the field, he is the inverse, being a 4k 1 3k. And we're playing 3 copies of him as well. Here's our buddy. The only grade 2 that we're actually playing in the deck. And then we move on to our grade 3, or our size 3, which is Witch's Destruction, Hardy the Devastator. She has a claw cost of 3 and an act ability, which allows you to ditch a wizard to destroy 1 monster on the field once per turn. And then her other effect is to ditch a wizard to null a link attack. She also has double attack. She's a 6k to 6k. She's good for her cost and gives us our last spellcast that we need to be able to fuel the great spell. Moving on, now we have our spells themselves. We have Key of Solomon First Volume. It is a counter spell with a gauge 2 from top deck. That is literally all it does, but it's useful for gauge ramping, which and prior to the set, this deck was really lacking and made it damn near impossible to play. We're going to be playing 3 of those Keys of Solomon. Next, we have Key of Solomon Volume 2. It's a gain 1 life, and if Volume 1 is in the drop, you draw a card. So pretty much after you pay your call or get your gauge ramp going, you also start to ramp your hand, which is really convenient. You also can gain your life back. We're going to be playing 3 copies of that as well. Most of the spells we'll be playing here are copies of 3. That way it gives you more accessibility to everything that you're going to be doing. Sorry about that. Next is your first counterspell. For a cost of 2 gauge, you have Begone, which is called, I think, Get the Hell Out of Here in Japanese, but whatever. It's a counter. You may cast this card when an opponent calls a size 2 or less monster, and you nullify the call. I don't know if that actually nullifies the full effects of a buddy call or not, but you're also going to be playing 3 of those. Next is one of the 2 spell cards that you play 4 of. That would be the Solomon's Shield. The card's just too good not to play. Counter any non-link attack. Next up, we have Abracadabra, another counter card. It's a cost cast of 2 or 1 if Suchi is on the board, or Sochiro is on the board. Again, you may cast this card when an opponent casts a spell. It is a counter. Nullify the spell cast by an opponent, which is really good for getting those nasty little shields out of the way that Dragon World likes to play, and saying no to their gauge ramp, or being able to kill a lot of the kill spells that Danger World plays. Next up is the other card that you run 4 of, Magical Goodbye. Return a size 2 or less monster on the field to its owner's hand for free. So early game, you have your control aspect of they swing, you bounce. It's another form of shield for you. Next up, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Nice One. It's a cast cost of 1 gauge, allows you to draw 2 cards, but you can only cast 1 per turn. With Sochiro on the board, it becomes a free cast for 2 cards, Pot of Greed. Next up is Great Spell, My Grandfather Clock. It's a 3 gauge, and you can only cast if you have 6 different wizards in your drop zone, thus the amount of wizards we're playing. You shuffle your entire drop in, and then you take an extra turn when your turn's over. So, pretty much, you can resources until you're almost dead, and if you're still alive, you cast this card and turn the game around, so you get an extra turn. And you're going to be playing 2 of those. Next is Kosher, another card that you're going to be playing 2 of. If you have 2 or more wizards on the field, you gauge the top card, and then you draw. Again, gauge ramping is great for this deck because it needs the gauge, and you need the hand advantage to be able to play the cards that you need. I might end up finding a way to bump this up to 4. I have no clue yet. Now, this is really debatable right now. This is the Arc. It's a set card. It remains face up on the field, and the cast cost you pay 2 gauge and put 2 cards on the top of your deck, and this card's soul face down. Pretty much allows you to live after you're dead. With the amount of spells this deck runs, the chance of you having a spell card to trigger this card is amazing, and the fact that you can draw 2 or your life becomes 2 and you draw a card allows it to kind of put you back in the game. You'll be playing 4 copies of Gunrod Stravius. It is just an amazing, amazing item and almost kind of broken. Pay 2 gauge, and then you get to tap it to deal damage to your opponent and give a monster power. The rare version of this lacks the power boost, but I think it's a less gauge. Being able to just first turn go, okay, I'm going to play Gunrod, shoot you for 1, and then hit you for 3. Your opponent's down to 7 damage already, or 7 life already. And now they get to play catch up while you sit and control the rest of the board. So we're playing 4 of those. And to top it off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of De Gausha Crush Knuckles. It is your impact card. It's 3 gauge, and you have to it's simple to cast because all it requires is a wizard. You have 1 2 options: destroy all of your opponent's monsters or deal 2 damage to them. So it works anytime that you really need to get stuff off the board or you want to press for game. The general idea of the deck is to use your control cards to get your opponent's monsters off the board and smack them a couple of times with your little wizards, and if you need to, reset the game. Great Spell is kind of gimmicky, so it might even go. Next up is going to be the 10 card side deck, which is kind of weird, but in a good way. Pretty much it's going to be kind of I'm seeing this is going to be kind of a standard thing. It's going to be 4 neutralizes, 4 destruction, and then it's going to be 2 copies of Oops, which I don't have. Oops. The destruction effects allow you to start countering specific threats with other decks. So instead of having like the generic spells, you can just cast. You end up siding in like destruction against Danger World or neutralize to kill off any of those pesky floaty field spells or spells that sit on the board. Anyway, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Obviously, this is going to be one of my first videos, so have a good one. Later.